But I have to say, a little gutted. 10 to go, finally dropped off the lead lap, but had a ball, had some awesome racing with people, a lot of fun, and got to thank Nice Motorsports.
Most people expected Shane van Gisbergen to be good in NASCAR. Very good, actually. After everything he accomplished in Supercars, nobody doubted his raw talent. He arrived with the resume of a champion, a driver who had already proven himself at the highest level in another major racing discipline. A driver with racecraft, discipline, and elite-level car control. So when he came to NASCAR and immediately showed speed on road courses, no one was truly surprised. That part made sense. That was the easy prediction. But what has happened since then has changed the conversation completely. Because the biggest surprise of Shane van Gisbergen's NASCAR transition has not been his road course speed. It has been how quickly he is learning the one discipline many believed would hold him back: oval racing. And now, one of the most fascinating developments in NASCAR is watching a driver who was once labeled a road course specialist slowly turn into something much more dangerous: a complete racer. When Shane first entered the NASCAR world, the expectations were obvious. He would be a threat whenever the series visited a road course. He would likely surprise people early. He would steal some headlines. And then eventually, reality would catch up on the ovals. That was the common belief. Not because anyone doubted his effort. Not because anyone questioned his professionalism. But because NASCAR oval racing is brutally difficult to learn. Far more difficult than most people outside the sport realize. To casual fans, an oval may appear simple: 4 turns, constant laps, high speeds. It can look repetitive from the outside. But drivers know the truth. Oval racing is one of the most technical and mentally demanding forms of motorsport in the world. Because success on an oval is not just about turning left. It is about managing tire wear over long runs, understanding how air changes the balance of the car, knowing how to place your car in traffic without sacrificing momentum, adjusting lines corner by corner as the track evolves, and learning how to stay disciplined over hundreds of laps while racing inches away from competitors. That is why so many talented drivers from other series struggle when they come to NASCAR. Even world-class racers, even champions. Because oval racing demands instincts that cannot be learned overnight. It demands experience, repetition, feel, and patience. That is why many believe Shane van Gisbergen's biggest challenge would take years. Not months, years. But the timeline is changing, faster than expected, because race after race, Shane is improving in ways that are impossible to ignore. It started with subtle progress. A little more confidence entering the corners. A little more aggression in traffic. A little more comfort racing side by side. Then came better lap times. Stronger race pace. More consistency over long runs. And suddenly, people inside the garage started noticing something. He was not just surviving on ovals anymore. He was learning them. Fast. That is where the conversation changed. Because struggling at first would have been normal. Expected, even. But adapting this quickly? That gets attention. Especially in NASCAR. Because drivers in this sport understand how steep the learning curve really is. They know what it takes to become comfortable on an oval. And when they see someone accelerating through that process faster than expected, they take notice. That is exactly what is happening with Shane van Gisbergen right now. Veterans who once viewed him as a specialty threat are beginning to speak differently. There is more respect in their tone, more seriousness in how they discuss him, because every week he looks more comfortable. Every race he appears more composed. Every oval he seems to understand a little better. And that should concern the rest of the field. Because the most dangerous version of Shane van Gisbergen was never a road course specialist. The most dangerous version of Shane van Gisbergen is a driver who can contend everywhere. That possibility is becoming increasingly real. Part of what makes Shane's progress so impressive is how he has approached the transition. He has not come into NASCAR acting like his past success automatically guarantees future results. He has not treated the learning process lightly. He has respected the challenge. He has respected the discipline. And perhaps most importantly, he has shown a willingness to adapt. That may sound simple, but it is one of the hardest things for elite athletes to do, because great drivers often trust what made them successful. They rely on old habits, old instincts, old techniques, and when they switch disciplines, those habits can become limitations. Many crossover drivers struggle because they try to force their previous style into NASCAR. They treat NASCAR like a version of what they already know. Shane has not done that. He has embraced the fact that this is different. He has studied, listened, adjusted, learned. That humility is part of why his development has been so rapid. Because talent opens the door, but adaptability determines whether you stay there. And Shane has both. That combination is rare, very rare. It is why some people inside the garage are starting to believe his ceiling may be much higher than originally expected. Because if this pace of development continues, then NASCAR may not simply have another strong crossover driver. It may have a future superstar. And that changes the long-term picture for everyone. Because a road course specialist is manageable. You prepare for them a few weekends per year. You know when they will be dangerous. You know when they will likely be in contention. But a driver who can run road courses and ovals at a high level? That is a different problem entirely. That is someone who can challenge every week. Someone who can build momentum through an entire season. Someone who can become a championship threat. That is the level people are beginning to talk about. Quietly for now. But increasingly. Because while Shane still has room to grow, the trajectory is impossible to ignore. He is ahead of schedule. Far ahead. And that matters in NASCAR. Because in this sport, development is usually slow. Young drivers often spend years learning tire management, years learning traffic, years learning how air impacts balance in dirty air, years learning how to adjust their style for different oval shapes and banking levels. There is no shortcut. Yet somehow, Shane is compressing that timeline, not eliminating it, but accelerating through it. That does not mean he has mastered everything. Far from it. There will still be difficult races, bad weekends, tough lessons, moments where experience matters, moments where inexperience shows. That is part of the process. But what makes Shane different is not perfection. It is progression. Consistent progression. And in motorsports, that is often the clearest indicator of future success. Because the drivers who improve quickly early usually become the ones to fear later. That is what competitors are seeing now. Not a finished product, but a dangerous trajectory. A driver who keeps getting better. A driver who is learning faster than expected. A driver whose weaknesses are shrinking race by race. That should make the rest of the field uncomfortable. Because if his weakness disappears, what exactly is left to attack? Road courses already favor him. Street circuits already suit him. If intermediate ovals and short tracks start becoming strengths too, then the conversation changes from promising newcomer to major threat. That shift can happen quickly in NASCAR. And once it does, expectations rise immediately. That may be Shane's next major challenge. Because right now, some people still frame his success as impressive progress, but eventually, progress stops being the story. Results become the expectation. That is when pressure changes. When people stop praising improvement and start demanding performance. That is the real test of becoming a contender. Not showing flashes, not earning respect, but handling expectation week after week. That is where many rising stars struggle. Because once the field knows you are dangerous, they race you differently. Once teams know you can contend, they prepare differently. Once fans expect strong finishes, every average race becomes criticism. That is the next level Shane van Gisbergen is approaching, and how he handles it may define the next chapter of his NASCAR career. But if his current trajectory is any indication, he may be ready for that too, because everything about his transition so far suggests this is not temporary. Not a lucky stretch. Not a novelty. Not hype. It looks sustainable. It looks real. It looks like the beginning of something significant. And if that is true, then Shane van Gisbergen is not just adapting to NASCAR. He is redefining what a crossover driver can become in modern stock car racing. That may end up being his true legacy. Not simply proving that a Supercars champion can compete in NASCAR, but proving that with enough talent, enough discipline, and enough adaptability, a driver from outside the system can become elite inside it. That possibility once felt unlikely. Now it feels increasingly plausible. And that is why the rest of NASCAR is paying attention. Because what began as curiosity has become respect, and what began as respect may soon become concern. Because if Shane van Gisbergen continues on this path, then NASCAR is not just witnessing a successful transition. It is witnessing the rise of one of the sport's next major threats. A driver who came in with questions surrounding one weakness, and is rapidly turning that weakness into a strength. If that process continues, then the debate will be over. He will no longer be viewed as a specialist, no longer be viewed as a crossover experiment, no longer be viewed as a driver with limits. He will be viewed for what he truly is: a complete racer, a weekly contender, a championship caliber talent. And if that happens, then Shane van Gisbergen's NASCAR story will no longer be remembered as impressive. It will be remembered as historic.